Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is our weekly prayer devotional. And God has a refuge for you. Now, we all know what the word refuge means. We see it in the different wars that are going on. There's a siren that comes announcing that bombs are coming, and people go into a refuge, a bomb shelter. Or they go down, like in Ukraine, into the subway system and they find refuge. It's a safe place from the danger that's happening. And unfortunately, in some countries, particularly in Palestine, they don't have that. And other countries also, they don't have that, and people die. And the world is a dangerous place. And in the United States, we're not used to living in a place where we have to find refuge and go to a bomb shelter. Although you never know if we will have to do that at some point in the future. But it's a picture of what God has for you and me, a follower of Jesus. And if you don't know Jesus, you don't know a refuge that you need in your life. We all go through difficult times in our lives, whether it's a physical difficulty, emotional, spiritual, all different, financial, all kinds of difficulties. And when we go through them, it affects us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in every way. And we need to find a refuge. David, who went through everything and more that you or I ever went through, found a refuge. Now, King Saul was trying to kill him and was actually chasing him down to kill him. So David ran away with some of his men, and he went to a place called Adullam. It was a cave. And that's where he would find refuge. And if you study David's life, you see he continually goes to this, what he calls the stronghold, or the refuge of God. And that's the cave at Adullam. And in Psalm 57, in the beginning, it says, to the tune of Do Not Destroy of David, when he had fled from Saul into the cave. That's Adullam. And I love that picture. He's in trouble, and so he runs to the refuge, to the cave. But David learned, first he started physical. And the physical often teaches us about the spiritual. So he learned that while he was safe in the cave, because there was rocks all around him, and only an entrance, he only had to guard the entrance, and it was on a high level so you could see everybody coming. He was safe. But he learned that it was not the cave that was his refuge. But he learned through the bad experience that God himself was his refuge. You hear that? Through the bad experience, he learned that God was his refuge. We can learn things by me telling you, you reading it, but through the experience is where we learn. And he learned that God is his refuge. He didn't even have to go to the cave. God was his refuge. And so in Psalm 57, he teaches us. He gives his experience. And it's written so that we can understand and we can find that refuge of God. I don't know what you're going through today. Maybe you're going through a difficult time. That God has a refuge, a place of refuge, the refuge of the Most High. And in verse 1 he says, have mercy on me, my God. Have mercy on me. For in you I take refuge. I will take refuge in the shadow of your wings until the disaster has passed. So there's a disaster. And what does he do? This time he doesn't seem to go down to the cave, talk about the cave of Adullam. He takes refuge in God. And isn't it wonderful that when you and I go through a difficult time, maybe the death of a loved one, and it takes time, it takes years to overcome that, and then the memories come back. We have a refuge we can go to. maybe a breakup of a relationship, maybe someone we haven't seen in a long time, and they don't connect with us anymore. Maybe we're in a hospital, maybe a loved one is sick, which is a horrible thing to go through. But we have a refuge in God, in the shadow of the Most High, until the disaster passes. So what I learned is that disasters will come. But in the disaster, I have a refuge I can go to, refuge in God. And that's a spiritual refuge, an emotional refuge. It's as strong as a cave. It's stronger than the cave. And I can live in that refuge. And so he says, I cry out to God Most High, to God who vindicates. That's how he gets into the refuge. That's the door to the refuge. Crying out to God. So today, if you need a refuge, cry out to God. God will give you that refuge in your heart, in your mind, your soul, your emotions. And the disaster will still be there. Saul's chased him for 10 years. But he was living in the refuge of the Most High. He said, and he describes what it's like. I am in the midst of lions. I'm forced to dwell among ravenous beasts. Immediately I think of Daniel in the lion's den. He was in the lion's den. Okay? He was in the bad place. But he was in the refuge of God also. And the lions didn't touch him. The lions were there, but they couldn't harm him at all. Because Daniel lived in the refuge of the Most High. And then he said, they spread a net for my feet. They dug a pit in my path. I was bowed down in distress. Yes, it will affect you, but you're in the refuge. And so he says this in verse 7, my heart, O God, is steadfast. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make music. Awake, my soul. I will awaken the dawn. So in the midst of everything, his heart, you can be in a bad place, but your heart can be steadfast and strong. And that's where the refuge is. And people don't understand how you're able to go through that, how you're able to keep going, because he's in the refuge. His heart is steadfast. And he sings and makes music to the Lord. That's how we stay in the refuge. We sing a song. My wife and I were driving the other day, and just in the car, we didn't even have music on. We just started praising the Lord, singing and making music to the Lord. And you enter the refuge that way. I will praise you among the nations. So see, in the midst of the difficulty, he's in the refuge, praising God, sometimes out loud, sometimes in his heart, and he's living in the refuge. He's living in the refuge. For great is your love, and your faithfulness reaches to the sky. He's secure. He's totally secure in a difficult situation. Why? Because he's living in the refuge. And then finally he says, be exalted, O God, above, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. So you see how he starts? He's desperate. He enters the refuge and he has total victory. Amen? Anyone say amen? Total victory, because he's in the refuge. Amen. He's in the refuge. And my friends, you and I can go in that refuge. I need that refuge. There are times I'm burdened down. And I can go into that refuge through worship and prayer and remembering, and my heart becomes steadfast, and I can stand against anything that comes. So I encourage you today, run into the refuge of the Most High. He has a place for you there, a place of safety and strength. So God bless you. This is Pastor Willie, and there's some prayer points down below. Number one is we want to pray for the families in Texas and the people there who are suffering horribly. Pray they find the refuge of God. I know many of them know that refuge. We want to pray that you have an opportunity to tell somebody about the refuge of God. Somebody going through a difficult time. Hey, there's a refuge. Read Psalm 57 to them, or another Psalm, Psalm 23. And then finally, I just ask everybody to pray for the children's outreach, because children need, that's on Saturday in the park in Clifton. Because children need to know the refuge, because they are going through a difficult time. The best thing about what happened, the only good thing about what happened in Texas, was that those children were in a Christian camp and they knew the refuge of God. And the families, most of them, know the refuge of God. So God bless you. And again, if you need prayer, let me know. Let someone else see this video who needs it. And God bless you. And see you soon. Take care.